Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. It is the Andrew Parker Show with yours truly, Andrew Parker. Thank you once again for joining us. And this episode is a Parker priority. It is a central issue to the strength, the fabric of our society here in the United States, and that is the issue of free speech, where it starts, where it ends. As many of you know, I am a staunch free speech advocate. And that goes for things that I strongly disagree with. They are allowed to be debated in, as I say, the hurly-burly of the public square. The marketplace of ideas is only a true marketplace that will yield the best and the brightest ideas if it is a free and open marketplace. And so the broader the restrictions to free speech, the more dangerous our society becomes if certain forces take over, come in charge, and weaponize their institutions, their administration against speech they don't agree with. That is really the beginning of the end. And that is one side of the debate that I want to talk about today. Where does free speech begin and end on college campuses, universities, when it comes to support for terrorist organizations like Hamas? Support for organizations that are a complete anathema to the American experience, to United States law and order, to our moral foundations and basic fundamental values. Because we do not cheer, for sure, nor even agree in the most minuscule way with the burning of children, with the killing of parents in front of their children, with the beheading of young people, with the raping of women, and some of the most horrific sexual abuses of women. We do not agree with any of that, and we certainly don't cheer it as many on our college campuses and overseas have been doing of late. Is speech in support of that cheering allowed under our First Amendment, under free speech rules? And should it be allowed? As I said, I outlined the importance of a broad, unrestricted space for free speech. Does it include speech in support of and organizing to support this sort of heinous conduct that would undermine the very foundations of our culture? And that is what Hamas stands for and what they have cheered and what they have carried out. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Did your employer make you sign a promissory note when joining the company, and now you want to leave, but you're afraid your firm will pursue you personally for that debt? This is Jesse Keyboard from the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. I recently represented a client who had signed such a note, and I was able to get them out of their $500,000 debt to their company, which allowed them the freedom to exit a bad employment situation and enter a much better one. Meeting our clients' objectives is our focus at Parker Daniels Keyboard, and in this regard, we win. Our experienced trial team of lawyers at Parker Daniels Keyboard have secured major victories in state and federal courts across the country and through arbitration. We have the legal expertise in all types of business disputes, labor and employment matters, real estate matters, shareholder disputes, financial transactions, security issues, and appeals. For wise counsel, winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard, a premier litigation law firm that provides efficient, aggressive, and innovative solutions to complex legal problems. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.
Are you a high-income earner or a business owner looking to secure your financial future? At True North Private Investments, they focus on helping you break free from the limitations of traditional investments. Diversify your portfolio with private equity, real estate, and credit opportunities built to thrive in any market condition. Plus, their tailored tax strategies are designed to help you keep more of what you've earned. Your success deserves a smarter approach. Choose True North to grow, protect, and optimize your wealth. Call them today at 619-455-0275 or visit investtruenorth.com. Now, the argument goes, and as you know, and listening to the Andrew Parker Show at all, or its predecessor, the Victory Hour, but particularly the Andrew Parker Show, as we have the great debate, I frame the question by outlining the argument on both sides, not just one side. So the argument goes by those on the left, by those cheering on Hamas and showing support for Hamas, is that the state of Israel is illegitimate, that it is a violation of international law and is engaged in conduct that violates international law and has oppressed the Palestinian people, of which Hamas is made up of. Hamas is an organization of Palestinians pressing for Palestinian statehood, but frankly, for the destruction and elimination of the state of Israel and all Jews from the region. That is their watchword. And if you question it, just go to their constitutional creation papers that they still stand by, live by. Attempts to have them changed have failed. They read out in black and white as a Mein Kampf sort of Nazi-like set of ideals against the Jewish people. But it is all couched in statehood for Palestinians and the international delegitimacy of the state of Israel. And so fighting a war, as Hamas claims they are doing and have been doing for decades, certainly they have since taking Gaza and the Israelis exiting the Gaza Strip entirely back in 06, 07 time frame. Hamas believes that they are allowed, because of the oppression by Israelis against Palestinians and against those living in the Gaza Strip, to take the actions that they took and to protest in support of those actions and the causes being at the foundation of the Hamas organization, terrorist organization, that the the causes warrant this sort of guerrilla warfare and heinous attacks against Jews. Now, on the other side, these are violations of any kind of warfare, any type of convention, and they're absolutely wrong about being able to carry them out the way that they did. Well, what does that mean for free speech on campuses here? Those that are protesting and that are engaging in full-throated support of Hamas, a terrorist organization, recognized by the United States as a terrorist organization, are not engaging in the terrorist activity themselves. They are simply supporting it with their voice. Why should that not be allowed? Well, that frames it up. And let me tell you where I come down on this. Because of the importance of free speech, Nazis were allowed to march in Skokie, Illinois, back in the 70s, in full Nazi regalia. Skokie, Illinois at the time had the largest population of Holocaust survivors anywhere in the country. And that's precisely why the Nazi organization, decided to march and have their annual march in that location. And so long as it was peaceful, and so long as they stayed in the designated area for the march, they were allowed to do it despite the horrific memories that it brought back to the people of those neighborhoods. Despite the pain and suffering, the mental anguish that their march caused to those people. That's how important free speech was. And Hamas, as a terrorist organization, I would say, is very much akin to the Nazi ideology and to what the swastika and the Nazis stand for. They have shown it through their actions. So are they allowed to march and protest? Well, is it a step above? Nazism is one thing. A terrorist organization identified as a terrorist organization under U.S. law is another. And engaging in support, aiding and abetting a terrorist organization is not permitted in this country. And so it may well be that in and of itself is sufficient to create a restriction in the general rule of free speech. But beyond that, if the speech becomes action, if it becomes interfering with students getting to their classes, if it becomes threatening to Jewish students, if it becomes physical, or harm to another through attacks, then it also butts up against the boundary of the First Amendment and free speech and is not allowed. And that is where Donald Trump comes in. Unlike other presidents that talk a big game and do nothing, he has taken action and has made the statement, quote, agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. And he's speaking here about pro-Hamas demonstrators. And he has taken action. He has arrested Mahmoud Khalil, and Khalil has become now some kind of a martyr, cause celeb, the banner of the Hamas movement. And it is a movement, and it is like the Nazi movement. It is like the KKK marching through an African American community. Would we allow that? Would either party support that? Because it appears the Democratic Party supports these protesters being able to speak out in support of Hamas and its horrific conduct. The Democratic Party, a number of members of that party, now, certainly not a majority or close to a majority, but a number of members of that party have in fact protected these protesters who support Hamas. Would they protect the KKK to do this sort of thing on campus, maybe at historically black university? Would they allow that? You know the answer. If these people were causing, were lighting fires and causing disruption and preventing students from getting an education or getting to their classroom or threatening in the name of Nazi garb, would that be allowed? I think you know the answer to that too. When it comes to Israel, comes to the Jewish people, when it comes to the Palestinian conflict, oh no, the lines have been drawn far differently. Jewish students at Columbia University reported that Trump's return to the White House has created what they describe as a more secure environment for them. It has increased their sense of personal safety. And these are not Trump supporters, these Jewish students. The vast majority, as we all know, of Jews, including Jewish students, voted for Joe Biden's successor, Kamala Harris, and for Biden before that. And they very likely didn't vote for Trump in 2016 either. But they nonetheless say a marked decrease in pro-Palestinian protesters' willingness to engage in extreme actions following his inauguration in January. And it really represents a significant change from the intense protest activity that characterized many campuses during the previous semester. This is what is being reported. Now, it has picked up again in the last week or so, but Trump is not backing down. He is not backing down at all. And we'll see what happens in the Khalil case. But the Democratic Party, because it's Donald Trump that is holding a strong line against this heinous conduct and against this terrorist organization that is trying to infiltrate and educate our college students and infiltrate our college campuses, it's really horrific. Because it's Donald Trump, the Democratic Party is seen as supporting. Now, I know they say, oh, no, we don't support it, but they have a right to do it. And, pablum back and forth, bromides that you just, that mean nothing. And it really tears at the fabric, our moral fabric of this country. It's just not right. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Looking to grow your wealth with exclusive opportunities? At True North Private Investments, they focus on alternative investments designed for forward-thinking individuals just like you. Explore private equity, private real estate, and private credit opportunities that go beyond traditional markets. And it doesn't stop there. Their experts craft unique tax strategies to help maximize your returns and minimize your federal and state tax liabilities. Your future deserves innovation. Your portfolio deserves True North. Call them today at 619-455-0275 or visit investtruenorth.com to get started. Okie doke. So, when you're considering free speech and where that line is drawn, we have a lot of legal precedent regarding incitement. If you engage in conduct that incites violence, that's the line is drawn there. If you engage in illegal conduct with your speech, illegal criminal conduct, if you engage in supporting, aiding, and abetting a terrorist organization, it is limited. And that's what is happening with Mahmoud Khalil. It has become an issue, as I said a minute ago, that we have to really question whether this is the type of open debate in the marketplace that should be allowed. But again, we are walking into dangerous territory when we start to decide simply based on policy disagreements as to what speech is allowed and what isn't. Many people were shut down during COVID-19 pandemic. They were not allowed to speak about their view of the science, or even if they were highly decorated scientists. They were not allowed to challenge the basic premise that came out of government institutions. Couldn't challenge government administration messaging. People got fired. People got silenced. It did not help the overall policy. And when we look back on it now, the shutdown of our economy, just to name one of the fundamental issues that arose, when we look back on it now, fair-minded people would say, we should have handled that differently. Shutting down of schools, requiring the youngest among us and others in their early years, teenagers, 20s, required to take the vaccine. It's being questioned. It's being questioned across the board. Climate change, many say, the vast majority say, there is no question on climate change. But there are some who still question it. Should we shut off their speech? The disagreement over January 6th and what happened. Should we shut off the debate there? Because there was an investigation and a report that was issued? Many continue to claim that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. There was an investigation and a report issued there on the Russia, what some call the Russia hoax. So undermining debate by cutting off free speech when you have maybe unpopular speech or when you have minority speech where very few people agree with you and it's controversial. But in the end, it turns out you may have been right. Where the COVID pandemic began, whether it was in a Wuhan lab or a wet market, people again lost their jobs early on. And it now appears they were right all along. You can go back in history where that has been the case. Heck, the whole debate over whether the earth was flat or the earth is round. People were burned at the stake, literally, for speaking out on something that everybody thought was crazy and turned out to be correct. So, we have to protect free speech. But there are boundaries. And it's this commentator's view that supporting and protecting free speech on college campuses or elsewhere that brings forth the argument, the discussion, the support for Hamas, a terrorist organization, is beyond the boundary. And we must eliminate it and bring discourse that does not incite violence, that is not illegal, that does not prohibit or otherwise affect certain students' right to have an education, to get to their classrooms. And if deportation is required, it should occur. Those are my thoughts on Parker's priority. Thank you for joining us today. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments. A record of success second to none. Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, the numbers tell the story. The last 5 cases our lawyers have brought to trial have resulted in million and multi-million-dollar verdicts for our plaintiff clients and 0 defense verdicts for our defense clients. Put simply, we try cases and we win cases. Hi, I'm Andrew Parker. At Parker Daniels Keyboard, we take our work personally and we go the extra mile. That is why some of the biggest law firms, locally and nationally, send cases to us to handle when they can't. If you have a challenging and critically important business or personal legal dispute that must be favorably resolved, whether regarding a contract matter, a business divorce, a real estate dispute, an employment dispute, a civil rights or defamation matter, plain talk, if it's a big deal, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.